Hi, this is Ming. We all know that submitting a good CV is the first step of your job applications. But are you aware that passing the CV screening stage is the biggest hurdle in your journey into consulting? On average, over 90% of applications get rejected at the CV screening stage. So only 1 in 10 applicants survive this stage. Don't forget that for the UK offices, about half of the applicants are from Oxbridge. That's why writing a good CV is critical. Also, due to the large number of applications, every CV screener would only spend 1 or a maximum of 2 minutes on your application. So first, you need to make sure yours stands out. Second, it is impossible to get interview invitation from every firm you apply, even if your CV is absolutely perfect. If your hit rate is 20%, then you have done an exceptionally good job. So you need to do your absolutely best to maximize your hit rate in your CV screening stage. In the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to review the biggest secrets for writing a winning CV, the 5 golden rules. These secrets have never been talked about before in any of the books or online materials you might have seen. Your university career service advisors will not tell you this because they simply don't know them. Their advice may help you get interviews for average jobs, but if you really want to get interview invitations from the top-tier consulting firms, you need to know these secrets. A few years ago when I was in Cambridge, one day I went to my friend Jennifer's room to help her pack for the long summer vacation. When I reached her door, I saw a large beanbag with a few nice plates, a lamp, a vase, and some other stuff inside. When seeing me, she pointed to the beanbag and said, "Is there anything in that bag you can use? Otherwise, could you throw them in the bin downstairs?" I was confused. "Do you not need this for next term?" "I do, but I'm only allowed to store 2 boxes of stuff in the college," she sighed. "So I have to give up a lot of useful things." Packing your room into 2 boxes is very difficult, and packing all your experiences in a 1-page CV is not any easier. You'd have to be highly selective. CV is a showcase of the most impressive side of you to your prospective employer. So everything written there should send a clear message to the reader. You are the perfect candidate for the job. In a consulting CV, you need to show evidence that you have the key characteristics the firms are looking for: a problem solver, high achiever, effective communicator, and are genuinely interested in business. For example, a quantitative degree in a uni with excellent academic performance is a strong evidence for problem-solving skills. But it would be even better if you can show that you're also good at solving soft problems, for example, dealing with conflict and leading a team through challenging times. Evidence of high achievements can be in any field, including prizes from competitions, championship in sports, leadership role in major student societies, challenging voluntary work in developing countries, internship at top companies like Google, Goldman Sachs. If you have had work experiences in major companies or had done some business or entrepreneurial projects, or even started a small business yourself, it will show that you are really interested in business. In terms of communication, there are 2 aspects: public speaking and negotiation. If you have done both successfully, make sure you include them in your CV. If not, try to find at least one of your experiences where you had a chance to speak to a large audience or persuade someone to take on your ideas. Before drafting your CV, make sure that you are clear about the overall message. What kind of person does your CV illustrate? You first need to make sure that your CV includes everything that firms require. For example, your results in uni, your leadership roles, your extracurriculars, and your social or work experiences. Missing any of these will make it very hard to land an interview invitation. However, just meeting these requirements is not enough to pass a rigorous CV screening. You need to have a wow factor in your CV that attracts the reader's attention. So think about in what field you are exceptionally good at and then demonstrate that in your CV. For example, if you won loads of awards in one field, whether it's in math or sports or arts, make sure you highlight the number of awards you won and emphasize how significant they are. If you are not the typical candidate, you will also need to cover up the potential perceived weaknesses in your CV by showing evidence that you do have required skills in those areas. For example, if you have a non-numerical degree, you might be automatically perceived as being weak in numerical skills. So you should show experiences where you tackled quantitative problems or took analytical roles. If you are not from the elite university, you need to demonstrate your academic excellence or intellectual abilities through other achievements. For example, you won some national level intellectual competition, or if you had exceptional extracurricular achievements that took up a lot of your time, which could have prevented you from spending enough time in studying. If you have no work experience, you need to have had extensive and challenging social or other non-academic activities where you have gained valuable skills and made notable achievements. If you are doing a PhD, you need to show your business-related experiences and your achievements outside academia. So after you have decided the list of experiences you want to include in your CV, the next step is to write it. It is quite often not as easy as you would have thought. Imagine that a first-time cook and a Michelin star chef are given exactly the same ingredients to cook the same meal. Do you think the meals they end up with will be exactly the same? It's almost guaranteed that the taste and looks of the meal cooked by the Michelin star chef will be much better. You need a lot of skills and practice to turn the ingredients into a meal that is both visually appealing and tasty. It's the same when it comes down to writing a CV. Having a good recipe definitely helps, so let's now get some recipe for your CV. So after you have decided the list of experiences you want to include in your CV, the next step is to write it. Based on my experience of reading hundreds of consulting CVs and helping dozens of people writing a winning CV, I summarized 5 golden rules for CV writing. I'll let you read them and think about what each rule means, and then we will go through them one by one with examples. Now I'm going to show you part of a consulting CV. Please spend 2 minutes reading it and ask yourself 2 questions. 1. What does this CV tell you about this person? 2. If you were the CV screener, would you pass this person through to the interview stage? By the way, this CV is not from an individual. It's a combination of a few people's CVs. I picked bits and pieces from various CVs to construct this one. To protect privacy, some facts have been changed, so the companies in the CV may not actually have the roles or events listed here. Okay, here you go. Would you pass her to the interview stage? Let's pen this question for a moment and let's scrutinize this CV against the 5 golden rules, and then you will have the answer and know the reasons behind it. Golden rule number 1. Every sentence counts. Do you remember my friend Jennifer and her 2 moving boxes? For your CV, you only have 1 box, so everything you put in must be useful, otherwise you're wasting your precious space. Also, having redundant content will dilute the overall impressiveness of your CV, so don't just put stuff in to fill up the spare space. Let's look at some examples from the CV you just read. Research with supervisor on the topic, the effect of antagonists on agonist-induced receptor internalization. What does this sentence tell you about this candidate? Do you know what antagonists or agonists are? No. The only function this sentence has is perhaps making the CV screener feel bad or maybe even slightly annoyed. There's a 90% chance that your CV screener doesn't understand these terms. And as a consultant, we hate to admit that there's something we don't know. Just a joke. As a CV screener, I don't care about what topic you researched. I only care about what you did and what the consequences were. So delete that sentence. By the way, please avoid using technical or scientific jargons in your CV. Those will not impress the CV screener and may actually make a negative impression. So use plain English and simple phrases. Program for exceptional female undergraduate students who are interested in understanding more about the banking industry. Okay, understand that this is a description of what this program is about. Is it useful to know? Maybe. Is it worth a whole bullet point in your CV? Perhaps not. First of all, from the title of the program, people would be able to guess what it roughly is about. Secondly, this sentence doesn't tell anything about this candidate. Okay, for exceptional female students, but how exceptional? What are the criteria? How difficult was it to be admitted? We don't know. Thirdly, this program is for students who are interested in the banking industry, but which industry are you applying for? Consulting. It is absolutely okay to show that you have commercial interest, but if you stress too much about interest in banking, it may actually backfire. Golden rule number 2, provide more details of your most important experience. Here by important, I don't mean important to you personally, but important to show your relevant skills and traits to a CV screener. Before writing your CV, you should score your experiences by importance, and your top 2 or 3 experiences combined should deserve about half of the page in your CV. Why? Because your most important experiences should demonstrate most of your desired skills and traits. So you need enough details to tell the CV screener 2 things. This experience or achievement is truly remarkable. And it's real, I did it. Put another way, lack of details may convey 2 messages. 1, this thing is easy and not a big deal. 2, you didn't play an important role in making it happen. So make sure you put enough details and emphasize the significance of it. One thing to note is that rule number 1 still applies here. Every one of the details you write should contribute to the demonstration of your relative skills and traits. Let's look at the CV. Among the 4 things and the work experience, which one is taking the most space? Obviously, it's a Goldman Sachs program. It is the most important experience she has? No, it's probably the least important. This experience doesn't show your skills, doesn't show your achievements, and doesn't tell anything about your traits that can make you a good consultant. It's definitely not worth nearly half of the work experience section in this CV. After examining the CV against the first 2 rules, ask yourself again, would I pass her to the interview stage? Has your answer changed? Okay, let's carry on. Golden rule number 3. Every experience should cover 3 elements: your role and responsibility, the challenges, and the results. Let me explain. First of all, you need to be specific about your role and what exactly you did. Most likely, the activity also involves other people apart from you. If you are not clear about your role and responsibility, the CV screener will assume that you were just tagging along. So make sure that you emphasize what you did and how important your role was in contributing to the final results. Use impactful verbs like developed, conducted, led, designed at the beginning of your sentences. Please be mindful not to overstate your contributions or put all the team's credit on you. Be honest about it. If you only played a small part of the team's success, you could emphasize how you supported the other team members in the process and how people liked working with you. The second thing is the challenges in your activity or task. This is important because if what you did was easy, everyone could do it, then it cannot be called achievement, and it will not demonstrate your skills. In some situations, the challenges will be very explicit. In that case, you don't need to emphasize it. For example, if you won a gold medal in the European Athletics Championships, everyone knows that it's damn challenging and difficult to achieve, so you don't need to say it. But in most situations, it's not that explicit. So what could the challenge be? It can be a tight timeline, small budget, intense competition, tough environment, intellectual difficulty, conflict in the team, etc. It can also be the high impact of your results. For example, if you had to write a market research report, which will be used by the board of directors to debate whether the company should spend £50 million to acquire another company, then it's definitely a challenge. Finally, you need to make the results of your activities crystal clear. It should be measurable, otherwise your CV screener will find it hard to assess your achievements. If the result is not intuitive, you might want to explain it a bit about the impact and significance. And if there's no clear result, use other people's comments and feedback instead. For example, you gave a presentation in a conference. There was no obvious result, but you could have had 10 people come and talk to you afterwards and said they think your talk was the best of the day. Or the conference organizer could have contacted you saying that they would like you to invite you again for the next year's conference because your talk was fantastic. So think hard about what the most remarkable result was. It's not always obvious. Let's come back to our example CV again and see if obeys this rule. The first one, internship. There's role and perhaps challenge, but no result. The magazine experience, again, no result. Goldman Sachs, well, almost none of these three elements exist here. And the final one, no clear challenge and result. So none of the experiences is a complete story that allows the reader to assess her achievement. Golden rule number 4, quantify where possible. Consultants love numbers because numbers are hard evidence that is difficult to dispute or misunderstand. So use numbers whenever you can. In the 3 elements of your experience, every element can be quantified. For example, you can quantify your role by saying, led a team of 10 students from 5 different departments. This implies 2 things. First, it's a big responsibility, leading 10 people. Second, it's not easy, a diverse team from 5 different departments. So you can see the power of numbers. You can also quantify your challenges, for example by saying, presented to an audience of 400, around 60% of which are experts in the field. This implies that your presentation was scrutinized by a large number of people who probably knew the stuff better than you did, so you have had to do a good job. Results should definitely be quantified where possible. For example, say, reduced 10% of the inventory costs, resulting in a £50,000 saving per year. Another thing to keep in mind is that sometimes numbers are not self-explanatory. In that case, you should explain a bit. For example, if you are applying to UK offices but did university in another country, you need to explain your score system. Say GPA 3.9 out of 4.0, ranked top 1% in class, rather than just GPA 3.9. If you are not sure whether your CV screener will understand a particular number, it's always better to include some sort of comparison, for example, percentage or ranking, because relative value is always more meaningful than absolute value. A very simple example, if you say the company's profit increased £50,000 this year, I would not react much to this because I have no idea what the number means. If it's a multinational company with a profit of £50 million, then the 50,000 increase might just be a rounding error. However, if the company is a small startup that earned £50,000 profit last year, then it's a huge increase and a remarkable achievement. So in this case, it's much better to say the company's profit increased 100% this year to £100,000. Golden rule number 5. Praise yourself only through other people's mouths or actions. CV is meant to be 100% factual and objective, so you are not supposed to say something like, developed an excellent database, which demonstrated outstanding analytical and data handling skills. Those adjectives are not facts because they are directly from your mouth. You need to give facts and let the CV screener judge whether you built an excellent database or have outstanding analytical skills. This doesn't mean that you cannot use these adjectives in your CV. If someone, for example your manager, coworker, customer, praised you, you can put this in your CV as quotes. Even if they didn't say anything, their actions can also act as praise. For example, if many people in the company are not using your database, it means that they liked it, or it's useful for them, which is a strong proof of your excellence. Okay, now we have understood the golden rules of CV writing. Let's put them into action. Based on these 5 rules, we have rewritten the CV you just read. Now read the new version and ask yourself the same 2 questions. 1. What does this CV tell you about this person? 2. If you were the CV screener, would you pass this person through to interviews? You probably have noticed that this CV has exactly the same ingredients, apart from removing a redundant one, but it reads much more impressive. Now you can feel how big an impact a well-written CV can make, even if the content is the same. Before you go off and revise your CV, the final important point I want to make is, looks matter. A neat, clean, and easy-to-read CV will give a good first impression to the CV screener, and this first impression is critical. If they don't like the looks of your CV, they might not read it as thoroughly as they would have, and you might lose your chance of getting an interview. So make sure you use a readable font, leave plenty of white space, use consistent formatting, and highlight when appropriate. Here's a small tip about numbers. Using digits rather than words will make a big number easier to grab the reader's attention. For example, if you write 100,000 with 5 zeros, it's much more obvious than using 100K or pure words. But you might not want to write too many zeros. If it's more than 10 million, write the word million will do the job. Okay, now you have got the 5 golden rules for CV writing. I would urge you to look through your CV against these 5 rules and make sure that it is 100% compliant with them. Remember, only 1 in 10 applicants pass through the CV screening stage, and you've only got 1 chance to submit CV to your dream firm this year. So before you send it off, make 100% sure that there's no way it can be further improved. If in any doubt, book a one-on-one session with me, and I will work with you to make your CV an interview landing machine. Don't forget that there's absolutely no risk for you. If the session doesn't help you, you can ask for a full refund. If you found this video useful, please feel free to share it on Facebook, tweet it, and send it to your friends. Good luck with your CV writing.